Hey guys, welcome to today's daily premium newsletter for February 28th. So we've been considering the comments of Bill Gates over the past 24 hours, which has really lit up a firestorm in the crypto community as people have been almost uniformly opposed to Mr. Gates and his assertion that cryptocurrency can and has led to drug-related deaths. While we already spoke in length regarding our stance to those comments yesterday, I think an important topic this brings to light is the general lack of support from those in traditional systems and archetypes. Bill Gates, Jamie Dimon, Warren Buffett all represent the current system and paradigms in some way, and their dissatisfaction with cryptocurrency is telling. It's true that blockchains and cryptocurrencies are as a whole not perfect. Human error and programming errors will always lead to system vulnerabilities. For example, the deflationary mechanisms built into many cryptocurrencies in turn cause a rising price that discourages spending and encourages hoarding. Even though we believe in time the price of a cryptocurrency will be irrelevant if all it's being used for is the transfer of value and currency conversions are involved in that transaction. The main point being made here is that the loudest critics are those who stand to lose the most. Disruption and change are scary for those who embrace stability, but we as a species have never gotten ahead by remaining the same. We improved our tools, we innovated, and we embraced the challenge of an uncertain future instead of maintaining the status quo. The truth of the matter is that cryptocurrencies are simply the latest iteration in a long list of systems and tools that we've improved upon. Your choice is either to embrace the status quo or embrace change. Cryptocurrencies are not perfect, but neither is the current system, and the proposed changes inherent in cryptocurrencies could alleviate many of the problems that plague today's economies and businesses, and that's something worth promoting, not scorning or dismissing. One piece of news that I do want to cover today is Germany announced that it won't tax Bitcoin and other cryptocurrency users for using them as a means of payment. This message from the Ministry of Finance quite simply means that if you exchange crypto to pay for something like coffee, you are not subject to any capital gains tax and instead are directed by the EU's value-added tax directive. This is different from how cryptocurrency transactions are treated, for example, in the United States, where the IRS treats cryptocurrency as property for tax purposes, and as such, using it for a transaction is technically a sale of property and subject to capital gains taxes, which are much higher than normal sales taxes. We think this is a very important distinction that many countries will soon clarify in the future. Part of the struggle for governments is how to define cryptocurrencies as either an asset or a currency, as they can clearly act as both. This is just one of the many different questions that cryptocurrencies are raising, and it's our hope and belief that countries will embrace crypto rather than render it obsolete by regulation. So with that, I'll turn it over to Doc.
Good evening, folks. It's Doc for ReadySetCrypto. I'm going to go through the top 10 crypto according to marketcap.com. This is going to be pretty fast because we're just not seeing much movement at all today in the charts. If we look at Bitcoin here, so Bitcoin itself is just holding that trend line really strongly and just almost a little doji day. With about 2 hours left to trade in the day, we're seeing very low volume, not a lot of movement. We're seeing people selling above that trend line. And if you move down to something like the 30-minute chart, which is not going to show you much unless we expand it here. So we'll try this. Let's get it pushed out. You can see the 30-minute chart is just kind of waffling around. It's just not really doing much. You can also see that trend line that I've got printed, and you can see how it's being affected by that trend line. It tried to break out above the trend line and immediately got rebuffed back down. So right now it's threatening to break out. What I might expect to see going forward, though, is if we go back to the daily chart and take a look at this. Whoa. What I might expect to see is this consolidation pattern might just eventually end up just sort of wandering through the range, and that's not the kind of sign that I want to see. What I would like to see is I would like to see this explode up through this trend line, showing that anybody that was trying to sell this or sell to open was being forced to cover and was adding to the fuel, to the fire, to the upside here. I just don't know that we're going to see that right now. Now keep in mind the CHOP index is showing a tremendous amount of energy. So normally when we see this amount of energy, we get some pretty good moves. Either way, right? So we get some pretty good moves when we have this amount of energy. This is where the swings come from. So again, I think there's every reason to believe that right now with a higher low in place and a nice bounce off of the bottom, so higher high, higher low, working up through here, break through the line. If this does not happen, if this rebuffs and starts to work down here. This could still work into a flag pattern. This is not the way I'd like to see it, though. Eventually, we'll want to see a high volume breakout, kind of a jailbreak from this pattern. Here's Ethereum. There's really very little to discuss on Ethereum. You can see the volatility is just starting to come down, and it's starting to kind of go to sleep. And this is, in some ways, this is good, because when we see this big volatility being squeezed out, again, it's going to sleep, and then this is where people lose track of something like Ethereum, forget about it, and all of a sudden it breaks out, goes on a stealth move. Here is Ripple. Ripple's really not doing anything. Neither is Bitcoin Cash. Again, very difficult chart to really get any sense of trend from. Here's Litecoin. Litecoin has been doing well lately. Keep an eye on this one right now. It's just in this consolidation pattern like this. Watch for this to print a lower high and break through the bottom again. That would be a larger time frame lower high. It's not what I want to see right now. Here is NEO. NEO's done very, very nicely lately. It's been unable to hold on to yesterday's gains, so that's not good. Here is Cardano. Again, this is what I've been saying the last month or so here, is Cardano is not much really to chart with just yet. We'll get there eventually. Here is Stellar Lumen. This actually is a nice pattern. It's a nice, simple descending pattern. Descending patterns eventually break to the upside right now. Remember what I talked about back here was that this was a bear flag. This was a bear flag. Uh-oh. And down she goes, right? But at the same time, it's really not gone anywhere. It's really not gone anywhere. Typically, flag patterns are about a halfway stop in the middle of a trend. From here, we go to the last two are EOS here, and not much to work with. Again, just a consolidation pattern here that's showing up around this level here. We want to see it kind of break, print that higher low and break to the upside from here. And then finally, IoT, kind of the same thing. Right now, crypto charts are just not working. They're just not moving anywhere. And this is not necessarily a bad thing that the volume kind of is being squeezed out of these, because eventually what happens is when everybody gives up on this, this is when we see movement. Last one I'll show you today is the recent rockstar Omisego, I think I'm pronouncing that right, has been a really nice break from a flag. I'd like to see this hold on to these gains and start to build upon this and start to break higher from here. So we definitely have change in polarity, higher high, higher low, higher high. We have a full change in polarity on this one. Don't want to see this get hauled back inside the consolidation pattern. That would not be good. I don't have any comments today on shorter term swing trades. There's really not enough action to be able to look at this and give you some examples of what to do, what not to do, entries, exits, things like that. So we need a little bit more volatility to kick up and tick into this market before we have a chance to prosecute some of the swings intraday. Lastly, I hope you guys got a chance to join us last night at the webinar. So it was the I Hate This Market webinar, and we have recorded it, and the replay is available in the live classes area of the premium home. So the member home area, if you go down to the second entry there, there's the live classes or the classes button. You just click on that and you can see the webinar from last night. Hope you enjoy it. Let us know what you'd like to see on our next webinar. Thanks for listening, folks. We'll see you tomorrow.